So we got this inflation report that just came out here in the last, few minutes or so. And excluding food and energy, inflation came in at 3.4% annually, 0.3% for the month, both in line with the Dow Jones consensus. And the reading was the highest since October of 2023. So it's not a terrible number. But obviously, when you've got your highest inflation in going on 3 years, that's not great news at all. Now, what does this mean? What it means is that the president wants lower interest rates. He's not going to get them. The Fed is going to be more likely to increase rates this year than it is to lower rates this year. You can't possibly lower interest rates right now into an economy that is seeing a spike in inflation. I mean, that would just be absolute suicide, because then you would get inflation even higher. People would get easier access to cheaper money, and you just get inflation back up to 4, 5, 6, 7%. And that would be a disaster, especially for just, working people, because they wouldn't have the ability to take out the loans to try to beat the inflation rate and things like investments in the market. They just wouldn't be able to do it. So it would be absolutely terrible to cut rates into this economy right now. Now, if things kind of calm down, the gas prices come back to where they were, and we're back to that 2% inflation number coming up in the fall, then you got an argument to make, but you can't do it right now. So the backdrop of all this, too, is what happened yesterday. And what happened yesterday is the president announced that he was not going to sign this housing bill that passed the Congress on a very bipartisan basis. Got 85 votes in the Senate, overwhelmingly passed in the House. And the president said that he was going to have a news conference yesterday signing this bill that was going to do things like cut some of the red tape in the housing market, try to drive up housing supply, which obviously theoretically would reduce costs on housing. It would also prevent institutional buyers, hedge fund folks from buying up single-family homes. Good policy. I like that policy. I know the ultimate free market person probably would be like, nope, let the hedge funds buy all the houses they want. I disagree. I don't think that hedge funds should be in that business. And, if there's any protections from Congress when it comes to the housing market, it would seem like to me that would be a very good place to start. So, but also for the record, these institutional buyers only buy, it's less than 5% of all the homes. But as far as I'm concerned, it should be zero. So that was done on a bipartisan basis. The president was going to sign this bill yesterday. It was going to be this big event. Rah, sign it. American people, bipartisan, the whole deal. He then decides that he's not going to sign the bill until the Save America Act gets passed. That is what the president posted on social media yesterday. And then he went on to explain after the fact why he was not going to sign this housing bill. And here's what he said.
No, I said I'm not signing the housing bill. I want to see what happens with it. Look, the housing bill is housing. I made billions of dollars with housing. I know housing better than anybody, maybe anywhere. It's all about the interest rate. Lower the interest rates, you can have all the housing you want. But you have to understand, I don't want to hurt people that own houses too. These people, for the first time in their lives, they have valuable houses. They become rich. I don't want to hurt them either. What you want to do is what good for everyone, get the interest rates down.
That can't happen. By the way, just think about it. If you lower the interest rate right now into this housing market, what do you think will happen? You might get some more buyers, but you know what else those buyers are going to do? They're going to bid up the homes even further because now they've got more access to capital. Interest rates come down. They can afford more on their monthly payment. The sale price is just going to go up. So it feels like it's kind of a net deal when you look at what it would actually do right now to the single-family housing market, whether it's here in Kansas City or anywhere else. Like, every market's kind of unique, but saying the obvious way to make housing more affordable is to lower the interest rate. I mean, listen, that's true. And Trump probably has forgotten more about real estate than I'll ever know. but it also is just common sense to say, okay, if I cut the interest rate, yeah, theoretically, people will be able to afford a house because their payment would come down. But what does it do to demand in the housing market? How many people right now are sitting on the sidelines saying, I'm not going to buy a house now. I'll keep renting until the housing market or until the interest rates come down. And then you get a spike in demand for housing because rates come down. And what does that do? That just drives up the bidding price. I'm sorry, you don't have to be a real estate honcho to come out with that conclusion here. You don't. So I don't know if this housing bill was perfect. I know there were things in there that I liked. But I also know that when it comes to Save America, you can be pro Save America Act, which is this bill that's gotten obviously a ton of attention. And what the Save America Act would do, and what the president obviously wants to have happen, is basically create a system where when it comes to federal elections, people have to provide documentary proof of citizenship when registering to vote in federal elections. States would be prohibited from registering voters without this documentation, requiring photo ID to vote. I mean, I'm all for those things. Those things obviously make sense. I mean, heck, I need a photo ID to go to the Obama library now. Why would I not need a photo ID to go vote? That's just an obvious thing to do. I'm for that. I'm in favor of that. For some reason, on the Republican side, the votes aren't there. And that's disappointing. Forget getting the 60 votes. It's not even clear to me they can get to the 50 votes right now on this Save America Act. But when it comes to leverage from the president of the United States, it doesn't appear like he's got any because this bill, this housing bill, passed by such an overwhelmingly bipartisan margin. They could override the veto if there was a veto, or it would just become law, and I think it's like 10 days or something like that is when it would happen. So what exactly are we getting out of this by just not signing the housing bill that, by the way, the White House was championing 2 days ago before they called it off yesterday? I'm trying to figure out the political calculation here, and I'm not seeing it. I'm not. I'd like to see it. I'm open to wanting to see it, but I'm not seeing it at all. 913-408-7957 is the text line. That's the studio line right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Pete, this is on the text line. You're right. When the Fed kept interest rates artificially low in 2020, we had a huge influx of buyers, which just resulted in bidding wars and pushing values upward. Yeah, it was, in hindsight, a disaster. The economic policies of COVID were a nightmare. And it has driven the wealth gap in the country. It has shrunk the middle class. We're becoming a country of haves and have-nots because of these inflation numbers that have really percolated over the last 5-6 years. None of it's been good at all. What else do we have here on the text line? Pete, things will be fine once the oil price cycles through. It's already dropped a ton. Now it has to work its way through the system, which takes a little time. Yeah, no, I think we'll be back to $3 gasoline. I think, by the fall, hopefully under that. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. That's just how this stuff works. So I'm totally fine with that. And if we get down to 2% inflation by the end of the year, then yeah, we could start cutting rates. I'm not opposed to that at all. But you can't do it right now. You can't do it into a 3.5% inflation number, 4% inflation number, which is double what the Fed wants at about 2%. Kurt Skoog will be here at 9:05. Overland Park Mayor running for governor of Kansas. Look forward to having him on the show on KCMO. Coming up next, it's a Thursday morning. We're approaching 8:45. We call our next segment Ask Mundo Anything. Whatever you want to ask. The phones are open. John and Mark will get you on. We have some fun with this segment.